Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Steve Paikin. I host a program on TVO called The Agenda, and I'm honored to be your MC for this wonderful event. This past September, Ryerson University made history by launching the first law school in Toronto in more than a century, in the middle of a global pandemic, no less. Ryerson is trying to shape a new kind of lawyer, one who challenges the status quo, embraces diversity and inclusion, bridges the gap between law and technology, and expands the reach of justice for all. As the law school closes its first ever academic year, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this inaugural year-end celebration. Before we begin, it's important that we take a moment to acknowledge the land on which Ryerson University is situated. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe Mississaugas and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Now, at this time, I'd like to welcome Joanne Dallaire, who serves as Ryerson Elder and Senior Advisor for Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation at Ryerson, to officially open our event. Joanne.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today on such an auspicious occasion, the end of your inaugural year. You all should be extremely proud of yourself, because I'm sure it was hard work and good work. I remember doing the opening back in the beginning, and everybody was so full of hope. I'm sure that you have that hope and even more. And to have the law school renamed to Lincoln Alexander is absolutely perfect. This man was an entrepreneur, was a brave spirit, and I'd like to thank his family for allowing us to use his name for the law school. Thank you very much for that. And for each of you, continue to keep dreaming and going forward, and I'm going to offer this prayer for you. O Great Spirit, whose voice we hear on the winds, whose breath gives life to the whole world, hear us. We come before you. We are one of your children. We are small and weak, and we need your strength and wisdom. Let us walk in beauty. Make our eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make our hands respect the things that you have made, our ears sharp to hear your voice. Make us wise, so we may know the things that you have taught our people, the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. We seek strength, not to be superior to our brothers and sisters, but to be able to fight our greatest enemy, ourself. Make us ever ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so when life fades like a fading sunset, our spirit may come to you without shame. I say, Chi-miigwech, 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 Chi-miigwech. Oh, all my relations. Hi, hi. This prayer has been attributed to Yellow Hawk, a Sioux chief. And just to clarify, clean hands means when you've done something wrong, you do your very best to set it right. And straight eyes mean you walk and talk your truth. Congratulations once again. Thank you for this honor of being able to continue to support you. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Joanne. On the heels of an historic year for Ryerson Law, we are here today to celebrate a new name for a new law school. Today is also a chance to celebrate the tremendous efforts and accomplishments of Ryerson Law's students, faculty, and staff, and to extend our thanks and appreciation to the many supporters who have played such a crucial role in launching this law school. It's now my pleasure to introduce the founding dean of Ryerson Law. Before joining Ryerson, she was the President William McKinley Distinguished Professor of Law and Public Policy at Albany Law School. She was recently named a 2021 Female Trailblazer Excellence Awardee by the Canadian Law Awards and recognized as one of the top 25 women of influence for her contributions and influence in driving change in the legal community. Please welcome Dean Donna Young.
Thank you for joining our inaugural year-end celebration. Today, we hope to honor the past and inspire the future. As the founding dean, it is my deepest privilege to officially mark the renaming of our law school in the memory of a visionary who forged the path for us and for our students. Today, we officially become the Lincoln Alexander School of Law at Ryerson University. The Honorable Lincoln Alexander was a leader in the fight for racial equality, a champion of education and youth, and a true trailblazer in Canadian history. Born in Toronto, Lincoln Alexander was the oldest son of West Indian immigrants, and like so many immigrant families in Canada, Mr. Alexander's parents made incredible sacrifices to secure a better future for their son. His story reflects that of many of our students, faculty, and staff who, like me, are the first in their families to attend law school. Throughout his career, both as a lawyer and as a public servant, Mr. Alexander challenged convention and broke barriers. He demonstrated a lifelong commitment to social innovation and social justice. He exemplified the very same values that underpin our law school. At the Lincoln Alexander School of Law, we have a bold vision to reimagine legal education in pursuit of a more just society. Canada has one of the most progressive legal systems in the world, and yet it fails to meet the needs of a vast number of people that the law is meant to serve. Our aim is to change the face of law in Canada. We believe that diversifying the legal system will ensure that it serves the public interest. We believe that integrating and valuing diverse perspectives and lived experiences is the first step to dismantling the systemic barriers that exist in our institutions. So we are shaping a new kind of lawyer, one that is empowered to take on evolving societal challenges, harness technology, design solutions, and expand the reach of justice for all. We are doing this with a rigorous and innovative academic curriculum, an exceptionally talented and diverse faculty, and a collaborative co-teaching model that brings the real-world experience of leading practitioners, lawyers, judges, and legal tech innovators directly into the classroom. Over the past year, our success has been amplified by individuals and organizations who have collaborated with our faculty, mentored our students, and generously donated to our law school. In particular, I would like to recognize two transformational supporters to the law school. The first is the Belbec Fukakuza Family Foundation, who kickstarted our Racial Justice Initiative with a donation of $1 million. The second is the Larry and Judy Tannenbaum Family Foundation, who donated $1 million to create a scholarship program for outstanding students. There are a few additional donors I'd like to thank today. To John Eaton and Sally Horsfall Eaton, and to Andy and Valerie Pringle, thank you for your steadfast commitment to the university and for your early support of our students. To Richard and Donna Ivy, we are honored that you have extended your philanthropy in support of our students. Thank you. To the Law Foundation of Ontario, thank you for strengthening our efforts to reach historically underserved communities and enabling us to develop programs aimed at expanding access to justice. And thank you to the law firms whose years of engagement have helped make this law school possible. Blake's, Gardner Roberts, Hicks Morley, McCarthy Tétrault, and Torrey's. Finally, I would like to share how incredibly proud I am of our students. With just 1 year in, they are already raising the bar. They have demonstrated excellence at provincial and national competitions. They have begun to develop a critical lens about the law and taken on leadership roles in social justice initiatives. They have engaged with our faculty and challenged us to do better. They have served their communities with compassion, and they have consistently shown up for one another during this very challenging time. Mr. Alexander's life serves as an inspiration for all Canadians, but in particular for the students of this law school who represent the trailblazers of tomorrow. I now invite you to join me in watching this special presentation as we pay tribute to the Honorable Lincoln Alexander, a man who we are very proud to call our namesake.
A trailblazer. Born of West Indian immigrant parents in 1920s Ontario, Lincoln Alexander learned early on that if he wanted to live in an equitable world, he'd have to build it himself. He started by challenging the status quo from a young age, from being the first black child in his kindergarten class to the only black man in his division of the Royal Canadian Air Force. After the end of World War II, Alexander was honorably discharged from the military and turned his sights to higher education. At that time, black men faced limited job prospects, so Alexander, being the entrepreneur that he was, chose to pursue a field in which he could be self-employed, a field that would allow him to improve his own life and the lives of others. He chose law. Upon graduating from Osgoode Hall Law School in 1953, he began shaping not only the legal profession in Canada, but the socio-political landscape too. It started with him becoming a partner in the first interracial law firm in Canada, where he championed diversity and racial equality, marking the beginning of advocacy efforts that continued throughout his life. After several years of practicing law, he was appointed Queen's Counsel, a title used to recognize Canadian lawyers for exceptional merit and contribution to the legal profession. From there, Alexander made his foray into politics. In politics, as in law, Link, as he came to be endearingly called, set about setting new precedents at every turn. First chair of the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, first black chair of Ontario's Workers' Compensation Board, first black member of Parliament in Canada's House of Commons, first black federal cabinet minister, first black lieutenant governor of Ontario. And to honor his indelible contributions to society, Alexander was later appointed to the Order of Ontario and named a companion to the Order of Canada. His long lists of firsts and honors are a testament to his resilience, his entrepreneurial spirit, and his drive to advance society towards a more equitable future. Noble values that also underpin our law school, which aims to shape the trailblazers of tomorrow. Lawyers who embrace diversity and inclusion, advocate for access to justice, and challenge the status quo, just as Alexander did before them. And that's why we're honored to name our law school in his memory, so that his legacy may inspire the next generation of trailblazers, so that they may do justice to his name, and so that they too may continue to shape a better world for us all.
I should tell you that one of the reasons I was so happy to be asked to MC this event is that I knew Lincoln Alexander for decades. We both came from Hamilton. I interviewed him numerous times. He's been a pioneer in our world in so many ways. When we created the new studio for The Agenda, the show that I do, the brass at TVO asked me if I wanted to put any particular pictures on the walls. And I said I wanted two. Bill Davis, who created TVO, the former premier, and Lincoln Alexander, because he was such an important figure in Canadian history. And that happened. Let's now invite members of the Alexander family to share their reflections of the man they knew and loved.
Hi, my name is Erica Alexander, and I'm the eldest granddaughter of the Honorable Lincoln Macaulay Alexander. And I'm here on behalf of the Alexander family to recognize that Ryerson University will be renaming their law faculty after my grandfather Lincoln. Over the past couple of years, we have had the opportunity to correspond alongside with Ryerson about the renaming of their law school. And when my family was approached, we were so excited and grateful that my grandfather's legacy continues to be honored in this way. As many people know, my grandfather also studied law at Osgoode Hall Law School, where he graduated at the top of his class in 1953. My grandfather went on to pursue his own law firm called Miller, Alexander, Tequila and Isaacs, and it was the first multiracial law firm of its kind and considered to be groundbreaking in Canada at the time. What many people might not know is that my grandfather chose to study law because he was denied a job due to the color of his skin. My grandfather had graduated from McMaster University with a degree in political economy, and at the time had went on to pursue an administrative position at a company in Hamilton. However, because he was Black, he was denied the position. And because my grandfather was a very dedicated, confident, and hardworking man, he didn't let that stop him. He would never let any barriers come between him and his goals, and so he chose to study law as a way to service others and to create the life that he wanted to create for himself. My grandfather was a generous man. He was accessible with his time. He was loving and affectionate, very grounded and funny, and he often shared that with most people that he met. I have met so many people in my life that have had the opportunity to meet my grandfather, and they always share the most positive and wonderful stories about how he affected their life. My grandfather would be truly humbled and truly excited about the renaming of the school in his name. We're so excited, we're so delighted, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to be part of this wonderful celebration. Thank you so much.
Lincoln would be immensely proud today. Proud of the courage and dedication of the students of this law school that is committed to expanding the reach of justice and creating an equitable future for all. Lincoln believed that the strength of self-realization was best achieved through education. For him, education was the best weapon in arming him and others against delayed or denied opportunity. Lincoln would say that his various appointments over the years was recognition that Canadian society has changed immeasurably. He would say that ours is a vibrant and envied society whose very diversity is a measure of its strength. He would also say, we have come a long way, but we have a long way to go. He was both an optimist and a realist at once. Lincoln loved the law. He loved it the way it was, and he loved it too much for it to remain the same. He enthusiastically envisioned and pursued a future which included a true recognition of equal rights under the law. This is what kept him going. He always encouraged those around him to challenge authority, but to be prepared to back it up and to take it to where they would have the greatest impact. It is my hope that the current and future students of the Lincoln Alexander School of Law will be inspired to live actively and vocally with the grace, the dignity, and the courage exemplified by Lincoln, and that his legacy will live on through them.
Thank you to the Alexander family for sharing your memories and this day with all of us. Now, our next speaker is Ryerson University's president. An internationally recognized researcher and accomplished academic administrator, Mohammed Lashmi has been a key contributor to the growth and development of Ryerson over a transformational time in the university's history. Putting today's announcement into the context of Ryerson's history at large, here's the university's president, Mohammed Lashmi.
Thank you. I want to thank the members of the Alexander family for sharing their reflections at this wonderful time. How proud Ryerson is to be associated with the name of Lincoln Alexander, and how proud we are to be doing so at this special moment in history. The past year has been truly historic, not just because of the pandemic, but because there has been a global awakening to the issues of racism, human rights, and social justice. Over the years, we have seen similar movements come and go, but this time, I believe, is different. This time, the deep and profound impact of racism is being widely understood. There is a willingness to change. Our law school is part of that transformation. We have created a different kind of law school, one that is meant to disrupt more than just legal education. It meant to disrupt the justice system. And the momentum for that change stands on the shoulders of people like Lincoln Alexander. He had the courage to challenge the status quo. That is our challenge now on behalf of future generations, to build a law school that lives up to his name and his legacy. It is a challenge I know we will all rise to meet. Thank you again. I am now delighted to invite Dean Young to join me in unveiling a plaque that celebrates Lincoln Alexander's legacy. It will be proudly displayed at the law school that now bears his name.
Beautiful. Thank you, President Lashami and Dean Young. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ryerson University's Chancellor. Janice Fukakusa is a financial services expert, innovation champion, and diversity leader. She is Ryerson's fifth and first female chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, Chancellor Janice Fukakusa.
Thank you and welcome. I would like to add my voice to the tributes for Lincoln Alexander and for his many groundbreaking roles in public service. Prominent among those was from 1985 to 1991, when Mr. Alexander served as the Queen's representative in Ontario as Lieutenant Governor. He was the 24th Lieutenant Governor and our first Black person to hold this position in our province. Mr. Alexander brought the same grace, dedication, and good humor to his duties that are being remembered so fondly today. Appropriately, it's my pleasure now to introduce the 29th Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdeswell. Ms. Dowdeswell has served the public interest at all orders of government and in the private sector. She contributed globally as Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program. In Canada, her diverse portfolios range from education and culture to environment and the management of complex public inquiries. Since taking office in 2014, Ms. Dowdeswell has challenged Ontarians to think deeply about their role, not just as residents of a province, but also as global citizens. The focus of her mandate has been building resilience and sustainability through inclusive economic prosperity, environmental stewardship and social cohesion, as well as safeguarding democracy. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario.
Good evening, everyone. Bonjour, bonjour. As Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, I'm reminded every day of the legacy of the province's 24th Lieutenant Governor, my predecessor, the Honourable Lincoln Alexander. His magnificent portrait, a testament to his prolific career in public service as a distinguished soldier, lawyer, statesman, and Canada's first Black vice-regal, actually watches over me every day in my offices. And I often turn to his example when things get tough. We all can. This past year, I've had plenty of occasion to do so, for it's been an intensely challenging time. So many Ontarians are hurting. Today, I think particularly of those in racialized communities who are bearing the costs of this pandemic disproportionately. COVID-19 has deepened inequalities in our society. And we've also seen an alarming rise in racism the world over. Here in Ontario, we're not exempt from those struggles. Social justice is both necessary and urgent. And Lincoln's legacy reminds us that the fight against racism is, at the same time, the fight for a more just and resilient Canada. Preeminent in that fight must be our legal institutions. The effort of legal reform and advocacy for racial justice and equality under the law is profoundly democratic work. So it's then with great pride that I celebrate the naming of Ryerson's Faculty of Law after a man who challenged and forever strengthened Canada's democracy. May this long be an institution committed to advancing equity and accessibility in the legal profession. To all students, faculty, and staff, may Lincoln forever inspire you to walk in his footsteps, to question the status quo, and to push against barriers. And may his compassion and generosity guide all who come to learn and to serve. Merci, miigwech.
Let's now introduce His Worship John Tory, the Mayor of Toronto, to share a few words about Lincoln Alexander.
Hello, Mayor John Tory here. I'd like to thank Ryerson's Dean of Law, Donna Young, and President Lashmi for inviting me to join all of you this evening. This event is a historic occasion, not just for Ryerson's Faculty of Law, but for the City of Toronto at large. As mayor and as a lawyer myself, it is a source of great pride that the Lincoln Alexander School of Law will celebrate a brilliant lawyer, a distinguished public servant, a true champion for equality and diversity and inclusion in Canada, and a dear friend of mine. As the first new law school in Toronto in more than a century, it's so fitting that the Lincoln Alexander School of Law will embody those foundational values at the very heart and core of our great city. As a friend and a role model to me, I've seen firsthand the impact of Lincoln Alexander's character and service to Canadians. His commitment to building a more equitable society, one that embraced diversity and inclusion, is something I think we can all learn from. And above all, Lincoln Alexander was an incredibly decent man, guided by moral integrity and unfailing kindness. I just remember time after time after time myself meeting him, and he'd reach out one of those great big hands and greet you so warmly, but there was always a message that came with that, delivered so warmly and with such integrity and with such decency. And so I say to this year's inaugural class and to future cohorts, I call on you to keep Lincoln Alexander's legacy alive through the important work that you will have the opportunity to do in the community. Lincoln Alexander always believed in the potential of people as change makers, individual people. And as our country's future lawyers, you too will have the same opportunity he did and that I've had to drive real impactful change, in part because of the legal education that you will receive at this school. Ryerson's approach to legal education is a step in the right direction for our community, ensuring that people have more equitable access to legal services and advice. As we are taking the world's most diverse city and trying to make it into the world's most inclusive city, the Lincoln Alexander School of Law will do good work and will help us move that dial forward. To all of Lincoln Alexander's family and friends, and there were many, many of those friends, and to the entire Ryerson University community, congratulations on this very special occasion. With a powerful namesake and a strong legacy to learn from, I look forward to all that will be accomplished at the Lincoln Alexander School of Law at Ryerson. Thank you, and congratulations once again.
Now, let's hear from the inaugural students of the Lincoln Alexander School of Law, the changemakers, the risk takers, and future trailblazers, who will share in their own words what motivated them to choose law and what it means to have their law school renamed after Link.
Lincoln Alexander was a lawyer,
a leader,
a servant of the people,
an advocate,
an innovator,
and a change maker.
He broke barriers, and in doing so, forged a path for us.
A true trailblazer, Lincoln Alexander achieved many firsts,
but he will not be the last. Mr. Alexander was fondly referred to as Link by his friends and family. A Link lawyer is someone who cares about the people around them. Someone who is unafraid to try new things and blaze new trails.
It means not being afraid to try and explore new things, like technology, different frameworks, new business models that will change the practice of law.
It means intersectionality, it means queerness, it means about being able to occupy spaces in different ways and being mindful of the space that you occupy.
To be part of the inaugural class of the Lincoln Alexander School of Law means that we are setting a new precedent.
We see a lot of accessibility issues in law that will only change if we change it.
Being part of the inaugural class of the Lincoln Alexander School of Law means being able to approach things differently.
To be a part of something so authentically progressive.
It makes me so proud that that is the man that I am representing, we're representing as students, as a school.
It's a huge legacy to live up to, but it's something that will inspire me to keep going forward.
It's also a tremendous responsibility that comes with a sense of urgency.
We've now got a legacy to uphold, one that is unafraid to make change, to challenge the status quo.
We are proudly here to carry on his legacy.
We are Lincoln proud.
We are Lincoln proud.
We are Lincoln proud.
We chose law to challenge the status quo.
Advocate for the underserved.
Amplify the voices of the unheard.
Disrupt the justice system.
Innovate solutions.
Serve our community.
Build a more equitable society.
And expand the reach of justice. For all.
For all.
For all.
For all.
We are the Lincoln Alexander School of Law.
Well, as we sign off, a very special thank you to all the supporters that continue to believe in a different kind of law school for Toronto and Canada, one that will honor the life and legacy of Lincoln Alexander by challenging convention and breaking barriers every day. Your support has made all the difference. Folks, it's been a pleasure. Thank you and have a great evening.